Welcome back. This is an Aleks homework video on identifying common polyatomic ions. Mr. Barnett makes you learn polyatomic ions. He makes you learn them over and over and over and over again and take a test for 1,000 times until you can get it right. The reason is because you would get so confused if you look at something like MnO4 and try to name it manganese oxide or whatever. You have to realize that this is one thing that's combining with a positive cation. All of these atoms are together acting as a negative, and then it combines with something else. To recognize it as an ion is to make life easier on yourself. Also, they all have names, and so you have to learn to name them like ions. So I don't know that I can teach you anything from this. This is something that's showing you whether you've already learned it or not. So as you're learning these polyatomic ions over and over again, it will make more and more sense to you. Now, you can, from the polyatomic ion, there are tricks to know how to name something, and then from the name, you can also derive its formula. So this may take more than one movie, and you may absolutely have to just come to me over and over again until it makes sense to you. So anytime that you're going to have oxygen in a polyatomic ion, okay, there's only one positive polyatomic ion. MnO4 is a negative polyatomic ion, so the great bunch of them are negative. Anytime that you have an oxygen in a negative polyatomic ion, you are going to change the ending to 8. And if you so this was going to have an 8 at the end, this is going to have an 8 at the end. If you have several types of, say, oxygen, where you have one with more oxygen than less oxygen, you would have 8s for the more oxygen, 8s for the less oxygen. So sometimes your endings has a lot to do with oxygen. And then it's based upon the other, in this case, the metal that's formed in this negative ion. So this is permanganate. Permanganate. The 8 is because you have oxygen here. The manganese is because of the metal, and per is a prefix that you will have in the case of when you have more than one type of oxygen. So you can form an MnO4, you can form an MnO3, you can form an MnO2, and since you have more than two choices, instead of just 8 and 8, something the biggest would become per. So permanganate. Okay, this one is from iodine, and you're going to have 8 because you have the oxygen. So this is iodate. And so I'm going to need two words here because this is an anion. This is not just permanganate. This is the permanganate anion, and this is the iodate anion. Okay. What about ammonium? I told you that there was one and only one polyatomic ion that's positive, and it is NH4 positive 1, and it's called ammonium. Ammonia remembers the common name. We learned that when we learned that hydrogen makes a lot of common name ones. NH3 is ammonia. NH4 positive 1 is ammonium. Okay. And then carbonate. Well, I already know there's oxygen in it because it ends in 8. So carbon is C, and then this is just from your exposure. It's CO3, and its charge is -2. That's why I make you learn them. I make you learn the names and the charges of all of the polyatomic ions, or many of them, not all of them, just a selection. Okay. So don't know if I taught you anything, but as you practice, this will become easier and easier for you.